Hi guys, it's fantastic to watch a good journalist doing their job, that of holding politicians to account. And Wilfred Frost did just that when he spoke to the now shadow Defence Secretary James Cartlidge. The Tory, like many others in his party, seem to have it deeply embedded in their DNA not to take responsibility for what previous governments got up to when it came to funding public services, or in this case, the military. James was trying here to attack the Labour government, who have been in power for less than a year, for the running down of the armed forces. And Wilfred wasn't letting him get away with it. Have a listen.
As
Shadow Defence Secretary, the state of the military overall right now, who is more responsible for it? The party that is in government for 14 years. You yourself have said how long it takes to spend money and get results in defence. Who is more responsible for the current state of the military? The party that was in government for 14 years until 6 months ago, or the party that's been in government for 6 months?
So I am saying we are responsible for the actions we took to stand by Ukraine, which have had clearly an impact on our inventory, because we gave them missiles, we gave them tanks, artillery. We actually 500,000 shells. Now, not all of them were from our inventory, but 500,000 artillery shells. That's had an impact. And we had a plan to deal with that. And if it had been affected in July, when I said it should have been, when I became Shadow Defence Secretary, this country would be in a better position. And the government need to be held to account for that, because they made a choice on that. They brought forward taxes like national insurance, which is going to hit the defence industry, instead of firing up our defence industry with the orders they should have been placing. So I do hold them to account for that. But as I said to you, I do support the Prime Minister in going to see the President. We agree on both sides of the House about the need to stand by Ukraine. We want them to have a strong voice in these negotiations. They're my priorities, and we will continue both to hold the government to account on getting out that money, placing the orders, procuring so that we strengthen our armed forces, but we also support them very strongly in the way that we want to ensure Ukraine has a fair and strong shout in these negotiations.
But seemingly take no responsibility for 14 years of action. I note that you didn't answer the question. We are out of time. James Cartlidge, thank you very much for your time this morning.
No, you did not answer the question. Now, look, we're going to see this over the next number of years, where the Tories will deny what happened over the last 14 years, or the 14 years when they were in power, and just continually blame the Labour Party. Something really interesting came out recently in relation to the military. The Tories had been spending public money on accommodation for military families, and it was money going into the private sector. The government, the new government, the Labour government, decided to end that, and they bought these properties, and they said, we're going to actually save the taxpayer a huge amount of money, and we're going to actually upgrade this infrastructure for military families. So that's a massive saving. That's something that the new government did that the Tories did not do. Now, the Tories, of course, didn't invest in the military sufficiently during their time in power. The size of the military was reduced. They, as I said about housing, look, the Tories are going to return to this at every occasion. You're not doing enough. A bit like Nigel Farage standing on the sidelines saying you're not doing it right. And this is what we're going to see for the next number of years. Criticising. The Labour government seemed to have done more for the military in 6 months than the Tories did in 14 years. Notice what he did here. Instead of answering the question, he started talking about Ukraine. Instead of answering the question, he talked about, well, what about the support that we have given? No mention of military families, no mention of investment in rebuilding the military, no mention of the number of soldiers that have dropped, the drop in the armed forces, no mention of these things. No, he just wanted to focus on something that can be presented as a positive and ignore all the negatives. The Tories ran the military, like every other government department, into the ground while they were in power. And they don't want to talk about that anymore. Kemi Badenoch wants to wipe the slate clean, it seems, and start afresh. Wants people to ignore what her party did when they were in power, so that people will forget about that and then re-elect them in 4 or 5 years' time. These people should be nowhere near the levers of power, nowhere near government, because all they do is destroy it. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.